1939 to 1945 were pretty bad years, but how can you make World War II more horrific? Well, by adding monsters to the mix. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment. Today, here for a brand new series review, and we're going to be starting Gyeongseong Creature. It's a brand new K-drama that was released on Netflix. It is a horror series. I watched the trailer. It looked very good. I thought I had to check this out. Also, Han Si-ho that was in My Name is in this show. And if you haven't seen My Name, then you need to go and watch that right now, because that TV series was absolutely brilliant. 8 episodes of non-stop action-packed drama, emotional stuff. And I just hope this show is half as good as My Name. But the synopsis for this show, let's look into it. Quote, set in early 1945, when Korea was under Japanese colonial rule, the series explores 2 young adults who encounter strange creatures born from greed, and then must battle for survival in the city of Gyeongseong, now known as Seoul. However, there may be something even more dangerous out there than creatures. So, end of quote. That's it. What are creatures? What is happening in Gyeongseong? We are about to find out. Episode 1 starts, I believe we're still in the World War at this time. I think there's a little bit of a time skip, so you get the opening scene and then there might be a little bit of a time skip. Not sure how long, but when we start, we're in the war. It's like the Japanese, and it wouldn't be a world war without concentration camps, and it looks like that's what we have here. The Japanese have got prisoners kept underneath in prisons. They get a letter, they get a note that they need to evacuate, they need to retreat. So the next minute we just see them execute all these prisoners, and we see them blow up their base. They set their base on fire, but we also see this big door, and something behind it is banging, banging, and banging, and it just manages to get out as the whole building goes up in flames. What was it inside there? We don't know, but whatever it was, I don't think you want to mess with it. So it looks like they were doing some sort of experiments. They wanted to destroy all documents. They wanted to destroy all evidence that they were here. So what the hell were these crazy Japanese people doing? Let's find out, shall we? We get a little bit of a time skip, like I said, and then we get introduced to some of the main characters. So we start with Cheoke, who is with her father. They are arriving in Gyeongseong, and they are sleuths. So they are basically detectives, private investigators, and they're on the look for someone, some Japanese guy called Sagimoto, and they are looking for him. I think it's pretty cool that we're getting a father-daughter detective type unit here. A dream team, if you will. We then get introduced to Tae-sang, and he is the other lead. So they've got 2 leads here. You've got Cheoke and you've got Tae-sang. Tae-sang is a wealthy man, arguably maybe the wealthiest man in Gyeongseong. He has like a golden treasure. It's basically like a pawn shop where people come, they sell all their goods, and he is the owner of that. So he's got money, he's got connections, and he's also the best informant in Gyeongseong. But unfortunately for him, he ends up getting arrested. There's like a big riot. Korean people are trying to revolt. They're basically painting the Japanese in a bad light, and the Japanese commanders don't like this, so they start beating down on the Korean people. They arrest people, and they tell the Koreans that either they can face the death penalty or they can work and fight for the Japanese army. Now, Tae-sang also finds himself being arrested. However, the reasoning is a little bit different. He's been accused by the top Japanese commander of sleeping with his wife, having an affair with his wife, and he is ready to kill him. But Tae-sang says that's not the case, and he says that the only reason he was messaging his wife is because he had an ornament that she wanted from the golden treasure. So the commander at this point kind of believes him after looking through all the evidence, but he wants a favour. He wants him to track down his mistress, because his mistress has been missing. Now, he says, either you find my mistress and you make sure she's okay, you tell me where she is, or I will take everything away from you. The golden treasure, it will be mine. You will be broke. You will have absolutely nothing. Then you'll be arrested and your life will essentially be over. So Tae-sang now has to try and track down this Japanese guy's mistress. And where is he going to look? Well, lucky for him, we get a little bit of a lead here. Some people in the Golden Treasure are talking about this. He's asking for advice. What's he going to do? Some people are telling him to sell up and make a run for it. Other people are telling him, no, look, you need to try and find this woman. And then we learn the fact that multiple women in Gyeongseong have been going missing recently, and it seems to be just women. So what's happening here? Who knows? We can then cut to a scene where we seem to have like another underground bunker. It looks like a jail. It looks like some form of prison. There's like cells and barricades, and we see a bunch of women that are being trapped there. Just a bunch of them in this room all together, and we have Japanese soldiers watching on. And then two of the women get picked out, put into individual cells and given some food and water. But it's pretty clear here that they are being monitored and possibly experimented on. Back at the Golden Treasury, Tae-sang realises that he is being spied on by a bunch of the Japanese commander's men. Tae-sang then goes to speak to his best friend, trying to get a lead on the Japanese mistress. And while he is being kept a close eye on by the Japanese soldiers, there's also another person looking out after Tae-sang, and that is of course Seo-hee. Tae-sang believes it's one of the Japanese soldiers. He turns around to confront him, but much to his surprise, is actually a woman. It is Seo-hee. He pulls a gun on her, she pulls a knife on him. We get a pretty good fight scene. The knife gets dropped, the gun gets dropped, and then some bamboo stick gets brought into play. We get some pretty cool moves going on. Finally, the gun comes up, the knife comes up. They both point their respective weapons at each other's face, and we're left with a little bit of a standoff. Tae-sang accuses Seo-hee of being an assassin and trying to take him out, trying to put a hit on him, and she says she's not, but after that little fight she feels like killing him. Seo-hee then asks for information about the missing Sagimoto, but Tae-sang isn't interested. He says he only deals with high-profile cases. He only has high-profile and important contacts. Therefore, this Sagimoto guy, he is beneath him. So Seo-hee isn't happy, says instead of the king of treasure, he's more like the king of trash, and they pretty much depart after Tae-sang says she's got very, very beautiful eyes. She threatens to cut his eyes out, and that is the end of it. Tae-sang goes and speaks to his friend, but he doesn't get a lead. He goes back to the House of Golden Treasure, and the employee, Mrs. Nawal, who works there, tells him that she's found two investigators, and who is it? It is none other than Seo-hee and her dad. He's taken back by this. Seo-hee wants nothing to do with him. Tae-sang eventually gets her to come around by bringing up her mother. He says, I know you were looking for Sagimoto, but I'll also help you find your mom. And the deal is that if Tae-sang helps find Sagimoto and their mother, then Seo-hee and her father will help him find Japanese mistress. Therefore, he will not lose everything. He will not go to prison, and he will not be a finished man in Gyeongseong. Then we go back to the chambers, and we see the two women that were taken earlier and put in their individual cells. One of them is complaining of a headache and completely just bashing her head. It's like freaky shit. She's just like bashing her head off the walls, off the ground, pretty much killing herself. Then Lieutenant Kato, who is the chief of the military operation, he orders Sakimoto to look inside the second cell, but warns him not to get too close. Sakimoto looks in, and again, we see the other woman who appears to be dead. Her body is just laying on the floor. But then he puts the light on so he can get a better look. And there's some like crazy creature that looks a bit like a licker from Resident Evil. It's just sitting up on the wall. And then it does a complete 180. Jumps around. Goes flying right into the cell. Massive jump scare. That was the end of the episode. And just before this, we also seen like little test tubes with like little worms in it. And it kind of reminded me of the Strain. You know the way you had those worms, the parasite worms that infected people? It looks something similar to that. So I could only assume that the Japanese are doing experiments trying to create creatures. Could this be a way of them potentially winning the war? Are they experimenting to try and create weapons of mass destruction? Kind of reminds me of Resident Evil a little bit here, but it was a good ending, scary ending, and it got me intrigued to see. I want to see more. I want to know what they're actually doing, what they're experimenting, how are they, why are they doing this, what are they trying to create? I need to know. And I think the episode ended very well. So that is pretty much a breakdown of everything that happened in episode 1. I thought it was a decent episode. I thought it was a good episode. At times it did feel a little bit boring, but I understand it's the first episode. They're trying to flesh out characters. They're trying to introduce all these new characters at the one time, and I get it. You know, it's not going to be balls to the wall. It's not going to be action packed. I think we'll come to expect in most shows that the first few episodes are kind of just putting the entire plot together, introducing you to the characters, so I'm not expecting crazy stuff to happen in the premiere, but I did think it was a pretty long premiere, and at times it did seem as if it was dragging a little bit, but I do like the concept. I think some of the characters are very interesting. I like the fact that it's set in 1945, the dynamic of Korea being colonized and being basically under order of the Japanese is also very good. Then you add in the experimentation of the women that is happening and turning them into monsters. It's intriguing, and it's definitely a pretty good show, and I would recommend it for people to watch. As for the rating, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good. It was definitely a solid opening episode, a good premiere. It wasn't great, it wasn't fantastic, but I thought it done a good job of introducing characters. I thought it did a good job of setting up the premise for the show, and it was intriguing, especially at the end. It didn't show us too much of what's happening with the experimentation and the creatures, but we've seen just enough to keep us intrigued. We've seen enough for us to want more, and I think that's how I feel going into episode 2. And I've got a feeling that this will be a show that actually gets better. I think it did a good job of setting up the show in episode 1, but I would expect to see a lot more in episode 2. So yeah, 6 out of 10. Good start to the show, and I'm looking forward to episode 2. I'm excited to see how Tae-sang and SO-HEE will coexist as a partnership. How are they going to find out about the experiments? How are they going to find out about the creatures? And more importantly, how are they going to react when they find out that these missing women are being experimented on and turned into these monsters, these Resident Evil type creatures? I'm looking forward to it, guys. The reviews will be on the channel. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you leave a comment. It's crazy. It's World War II. It's Japanese / Korea mixing up with creatures and monsters. It's crazy shit going on here in Gyeongseong Creature, and I will catch you in the next one. Till then, though, peace.